It will be completely different.
हाँ नहीं नहीं, एक्चुअली सर्विस प्रोवाइडर है ना, तो
Yeah.
टोटली MPLS हो जाएगा.
MPLS हो जाएगा, MPLS VPN, and most probably obviously I'll take the MPLS topics in depth, traffic engineering, also automation of some different nature in this course, and something about the segment routing as well.
ठीक है दादा, ठीक है, कोई इशू नहीं.
And MPLS VPN, when I say MPLS VPN, it's huge, it's not simple. Let's see. No, they
ना
told me that
तो VPC शुरू किया इन्होंने, फिर मैंने सोचा कि
VPC वो in AWS.
यस, AWS, और मैं उसका भी देखा था, गूगल का.
Oh, Google. Okay.
हम्म.
And I think we have Mahesh and Pranjal, probably one or two more students. They were saying, they'll come. This course, I actually taken as an added course because, as you know, I have just 1 month. So I thought, this thing I can do.
कोई बात नहीं, आपसे ही समझ आ रही है मेरे को चीजें, नहीं तो.
Yeah. Hey, Mahesh and Pranjal, where you guys are, working and.
Hi, I'm Mahesh. I'm currently working in Pune, Incredible Server Center from last 4.5 years. And I'm working in the ISP from last 2 years.
Oh, then you would be working on many services of the ISP.
But it's a small ISP.
It's small ISP, then it's a problem.
It's not a local, but not that kind of.
Your voice is breaking. Okay, and what about you, Pranjal?
Actually, I am from Assam, Guwahati.
Oh my God.
I'm basically working in Zio, Reliance Zio. My background is network engineer. My profile is BGP, MPLS, Cisco router working service providing.
Okay. Starting there. All right. So the main thing about this course is MPLS VPN. So any use case about the MPLS VPN, we will discuss that, why MPLS is so necessary, and who the persons who are working in the ISP environment, how they can all use the end-to-end communication when they have their sites connecting to one ISP to another ISP, how the ISPs are being rolled out. So this is an ISP, whenever you are working something, when you are learning something, people tell you just consider this is an ISP. But what happens in the ISP will be covered in this particular course. So obviously some enterprises would be here. They have their routers. We generally call them as customer edge routers. Similarly, they have another sites, which is customer edge routers. And within the ISP, what would be running, what are the routing protocols would be running between their router, which is of ISP router, we call it as provider edge router. Provider edge router to the customer edge router, we will look into this course. Now the technologies, if I talk about, if you ask me if I'm going to spend the time, I will not spend majorly time on like your routing protocols, basic things like OSPF, AIGRP, RAP, because you will learn all these things in your other courses, NCore, NRC, maybe in your CCNA. But where we will focus more on this course, obviously we'll have something in the OSPF. We will focus on ISIS, because this particular protocol you generally don't learn in any other course, though you learn in something in this data center, but not in any other course. Why this protocol is gaining popularity and why this is being used or preferred protocol also among the ISPs, we will discuss that. Also the BGP. So BGP I'll take you through. So one is the enterprise BGP we have seen in the NCore, and normal, according to the normal enterprise, we don't have the MPLS running there. But how the BGP changes and how it changes like a multi-protocol BGP in an ISP environment, we will take a look here. How the ISP routers, which are the provider edge routers, which are connecting to the customer environments directly via some transport. Some transport can be the MUX. ISP MUX will be connecting. Maybe some switches of the ISP in the ring, in the in you can say in the mesh way, or metro Ethernet, the cable, the wire which is laid out from the ISP's POP. We call these POP routers to the customer environment. So how that's being laid down, we will discuss in this course. Also the connections, once the packet enters into the provider edge, then how it travels through an ISP. Because there would be hundreds of thousands of customers connecting to the ISP. If you talk about the tier 1 ISPs, even Tata or something, they have customer in like million. So how every customer would be probably using the same private range, how they are being segregated within the ISP, what are the technologies they're going to use. So within the backbone configuration, full backbone configuration, with the help of multi-protocol BGP, also some kind of IGP would be running to carry out the internal routes. We either be running OSPF or would be running ISIS. We'll take a look on the both the protocols separately first, OSPF, ISIS, then how these protocols are going to run with you can say within tandem, or you can say with hand in hand with the BGP within an ISP cloud. Then on top of that, how we will run the LDP protocol, because that's the protocol which is used to exchange the labels. Earlier, they started with TDP. Now, no one is using the TDP. It's a legacy. Mostly, you will find the LDP. Most of the organizations, or I would say ISPs, are running on the LDP. So how the label switching is happening within the ISP cloud. They are not doing seeing the routing table to forward the packets. They are doing label switching. So how the labels are being configured, how they are being, adding the labels, popping the labels. Popping means detaching, or you can say removing, basically. How the multiple labels are being integrated, or multiple labels are attached to a packet. For the customer prefix label, the internal transport labels within an ISP core will take into this. Also, once we will go further down the line, once we'll see these L3, you can say the services used by the customers, and those services will be like L2 VPN, L3 VPN, which are majorly in this course. VPLS, I'll see if I can cover. I cannot commit that because it's not there in the SP core syllabus. It's in some different, in SP core also, or service provider CCNP, there are 4 courses. So the main course is SP core, in that the VPLS is not part of this particular course out of those 4. किसी और में है, मतलब basically पता नहीं second या third exam है उसमें है. But we'll see if I get time. I'll show you the VPLS, and it's a different flavors as well. When I talk about this L3 VPN, it has to be considered with all routing protocols. Means between P and C, we will be running AIGRP, OSPF, as well as BGP. And in more than 95% of the scenarios, you will get BGP as a routing protocol between provider as to the customer as routers. In this particular course, we'll see how the backbone, if it's coming, how the loop prevention will be happening. Right? Some of the routes we are coming from this side will be getting redistributed. Let's say OSPF is running here, from let's say BGP is running here, let's say BGP is running here. Getting route redistribution is happening from ISP to the BGP, coming to this particular customer router, coming redistributed into the OSPF. OSPF is again redistributing the same routes into the BGP, and the loop is being happening. So we're gonna see how we can save the loops if we are using OSPF, how we can save the loops using BGP, and what are the different BGP attributes, how to manipulate the traffic, making the primary, secondary, load balancing, load sharing, multi-pathing. Also, some kind of loop preventions, as I said, using the BGP between the provider as to customer as, using the extended communities. We will take a look on all those parameters. Also in OSPF, some different things we're gonna see here. What are the enterprise OSPF you have seen? Obviously, we're gonna see that. But how the redistributions with the provider as customer as with the ISP, we will see that. Also, we're gonna see some of the important concepts which you generally use in the ISP environment, which are like shambling, like your downbit concepts. Also, the LSA behaviors when the routes are going on from site 1 to site 2. So let's say an example, there is something like LSA3, LSA1, how that route would be reflecting when it is going on to the remote side. We'll see all that in the lab. Don't worry about that. So L3 VPN, and what are the protocols and the terminologies associated with that, we'll take a look into that. Once we will go further down the line from here, obviously, as I said, the traffic engineering flavor, most probably I'll show you with the OSPF. Also, I'll try to show you with ISIS as well. I'll create multi-clouds. Multi-cloud means one MPLS cloud is of OSPF, one MPLS cloud is of ISIS, and how the traffic engineering working in the OSPF as well in the ISIS, that we will discuss in this particular course. Most of your, I would say, these MPBN networks, or I would say the mobility traffic, is being switched in their core, packet core network. You have heard about it in the ISP environment. We are accessing internet on our mobile phones. So that's a different network ISP has, like I have seen in the Vodafone when I was there. So how if any of the link goes down within an ISP, there are multiple links in the ISP. If any of the link goes down, how the traffic quickly switches. If it is LDP, it takes some time, but it's traffic engineering, it's milliseconds, guys, around 50 milliseconds or so. So you can switch the traffic whenever any of the backbone link goes down. So we'll see everything in the traffic engineering, and we will, in the live example, I'll shut down the links and to show you how the path converges, how the label exchange changes. Because traffic engineering, again, label exchange would be taking place. Then we'll see the new method, which is only used from last couple of years of the labeling, segment routing. Not very much in depth, because segment routing in itself is a separate course. But I'll try to see whatever is in your SP core exam, the segment routing. We'll see a couple of labs on this segment routing as well. So this is the overall agenda. Also in the end, automation means how to use your scripting language to do the Python language to configure automatically multiple provider as routers, multiple VRFs, multiple customer as environments, and everything should come up automatically by use of the scripting. So this is my overall agenda where we will be working. One topic where I won't get much time to explore here, a couple of topics. When I say not much time, because the course timing is limited, guys. Because if you talk about the MPLS in depth, I need at least around 140 hours, 140 to 150 hours to complete each and everything, to cover all the modules which I'm saying here, the 4 modules which I mentioned here. So take best of everything. It takes around 140 to 150 hours, but this particular course would be around 60 to 70 hours. So this is what I have to cover. So I don't want to waste your time in small things, creating ACLs, AAA services. These are basic things you can learn from anywhere in any other course as well. I want to focus in this particular course more on the MPLS side, more on the service provider side. What are the core technologies of the service provider? So that's where my focus would be. So we'll see all the, and then I'm discussing the automation part, how to configure multiple devices using the scripting languages. Also the new trends like I would say netconf, which is sometimes people call as SNMP version 4. Also the REST API things, which will consume your XML, JSON, and Yang data models. So that also we will discuss at the end of this course. One topic which is remaining, if I get time, I'll cover is your iOS XC and XR. You can say hardware overview. Let me see if I can show you. Just give me some time on this hardware overview of the devices. Obviously, we are using this router in the ISP when we'll be doing our labs. So mostly our labs will be on the iOS XE and the normal iOS, but I'll show you those labs on the all of the features which I will be working on the iOS XR, which is resource intensive device. Just think 16 GB RAM, single device is needed. 16 GB, more than almost double than your Nexus devices. So I'll be showing you the labs on the iOS XR as well. Don't worry about that. I have created a custom topology. Maybe I'll further modify that to make it a little more complex. Let me just show you. In the end, I'll show you, because if I do it for the first time, it's not gonna make sense. You can say this is one of the labs which I'm thinking we all will solve. I am not doing some kind of endpoints or something, multi-clouds, multiple ISP clouds, and how the connections will be happening from endpoint to endpoint. You can see this is like Tata, one of the ISP. Tata. Then this is your Vodafone, right? This is some other ISP you can take, like your Airtel, Bharti. This is also would be like Airtel. And if the connection is connected, customer is connecting there with multiple ISPs in between, how the connectivity end to end happens. And that's where the concept of inter-AS will come into the picture. In the ISP, we call that NNI connectivity. You might have heard of that. If the people working in ISP knowing this NNI connectivity.
Yes.
Right. So there would be a couple of options of configuring the NNI connectivity. It's not like single connectivity, single way to do that. There are a couple of options. We call that option A, option B, option C. Sometimes people call it one more option, which is option D. What are all these options? What is the difference between all the options? Also, option B has 3 different ways to have provide the NNI connectivity: B1, B.1, B.2, B.3. Similarly, option C, RR peering with the different ISPs, RR, MPBGP peering, and option D via some third ISP or third MPLS cloud. How we're gonna make the connectivity? So all those options are there. We're gonna take a look into that as well. The one thing where I won't be spending much time, because अपने पास उतना time नहीं है to spend all that कि उतने में cover हो जाए उतने depth में the MVPN concept. I'll show you one lab on the MVPN probably, though MVPN is not part of this SP core exam topics. I'll show you, but I'll see if some MVPN I can show you a multicast VPN, because in itself it's going to take like different course altogether, 20-25 hours around. But let me see how this multicast is different from normal multicast. I am not guarantee you this thing, guys, at the start of this course, because it's going to take separate time. Also the QoS thing. So I'll explain the QoS model, but if you say configuration, I'll show you something about the ISP point of view, how QoS can be configured in the core, obviously in the MPLS ISP core, how the QoS is configured, how we're going to configure the QoS between the provider as to customized routers for the managed solution, because ISP has managed customer as well as unmanaged customers. When I say managed customer, that means the customer routers are being managed by the ISP. When I say unmanaged solution, means ISP will just give the link. It's the headache of the customer to manage that router and do all the configuration and troubleshooting whenever something comes up or down, right? So all those solutions, we'll discuss that. So these two topics, I'm saying, I'll explain whatever is needed, but from basic point of view. That's why, I want to set the agenda clearly according to the timeline we have. So this is all overall perspective from me. Let me know if there is any other expectation from your end from this course.
Bhai, are we covering multi-vendor routers? If we can add.
If you say multi-vendor, I can add multi-vendor, but this is specifically on the Cisco. Okay. But if you say multi-vendor, I actually wanted, when I started discussing with the service provider stuff, I was discussing with management, can I do this purely on Juniper devices? Then probably not much, many students come up for the Juniper. So that's why we have to go, we went ahead with SP core, which is Cisco. So if you all want for Juniper, that would be altogether a different course, like GNCIS service provider or like GNCIP service provider. So I can do that as well, but most of the people here are for the Cisco. So that's where we have different flavors of CSR devices would be there, iOS XR devices would be there, and the iOS devices would be there. Right?
That's true, but from ISP point of view, they are using multi-vendor operators. This is Huawei.
Yes,
Juniper.
they would be using, but this course is specifically for Cisco actually. The problem is this is specifically for Cisco. If I show you other vendors, I don't have any problem to show the other vendors as well. I can show you other vendors, but the problem is we don't have that much time. We have to see the timeline of this course, and so much to cover in this course. That's what I said. If you want, I am also planning to take another course, but that is after completion of this course, that would be around 150 hours. I am telling you, that's where everything will be covered in depth. So in this course, I cannot commit you about the Juniper separately, but if time will permit, I can show you the integration of Juniper with Cisco. That's what I can do.
Okay.
Just remind me in that. Last couple of classes, just remind that thing to create one lab where we will have a couple of Cisco routers and 1 or 2 Juniper routers.
Right.
Yeah. So here everyone understands English, or is there anyone? Sorry, everyone understands Hindi, or is there anyone which only understands English? Which has enrolled into the course and only understand English. Because that's where I will modify my language. If everyone is comfortable in both languages, I'll be using both. If everyone is comfortable in English, if even a single person is comfortable in English, I will switch on to only English mode. So just want to ask you guys, you are there are 7-8 guys. Just want to know if everyone is comfortable in English only, or it is mixed.
I think mix is better.
Mixed is better.
Yes, sir. Comfortable in both, sir.
Okay, that's nice.
Yep.
Because there are few concepts. What happens? I have to, I explain in English. It does not like, मैं जो हिंदी में explain करूँगा वो English में नहीं करूँगा. Obviously, everything would be explained in English. But sometimes we use Hindi our actual mother tongue, so that I can communicate it better to you guys. Sometimes few concept तो किसी को समझ नहीं आ रहा है, then I have to switch my language to the other mode so that he can understand properly, or I can probably in our own tone, or you can say in our own slang, I can understand that guy.
Right.
All right, so guys, what my agenda for this course. I'm not gonna go further, like spending the time separately on the different things before starting off. So I will straightly start with the OSPF here. So my agenda for this, for starting few days, ISIS, OSPF, and BGP. Obviously, BGP will see in little depth here. Then MPLS VPN with different routing protocols. Couple of lectures on MPLS VPN.
Sir, sir, could you cover ISIS first?
No, OSPF is in my agenda first, and then ISIS.
Okay.
Because there are a few things which I want to cover in OSPF and I want to show the difference in ISIS. So obviously both will be covered. Do not worry about that. And then our BGP. Obviously, I will spend very good time on the BGP. And if the people who have attended my data center, obviously I have covered those according to the data center point of view, like in Nexus. But here I will cover according to your CSR router, or if time will permit on the iOS. Not time will permit, definitely in the big lab, iOS XR would be there. So definitely these protocols, labs would be there on iOS XR as well. Also, after that, I'll jump on the MPLS VPN and then Intra-ES VPN. So that's why my starting few agenda would be. Okay. And I'm not going into the basic stuff at the moment, because you can learn in all those separate courses like your NCore, NRC, CCNA. So not want to go into that. So that's why also in OSPF, I will not spend much time, because when I teach you the MPLS VPN and when the OSPF will be the protocol between the provider as to the customer as, it will be different properties. I want to focus more on that OSPF rather than showing you what are the hello packets, what are the message exchange in the hello packets, how to make the OSPF neighborship app between two routers. It's not that much of giving any weightage, or you can say the good utility to you. I want to focus OSPF from the ISP point of view when you configure OSPF between the provider as to the customer as. How OSPF is configured between the ISP routers is pretty plain, simple, forward. Normal, interfaces, you have to enable that OSPF on those interfaces. That's it. So I don't want to, focus more on this kind of OSPF, which you have already covered. Similarly, the BGP stuff, obviously, BGP I have to cover, from the provider as to customer as point of view, from the ISP point of view, and somewhat normal, how BGP generally works. So let me have some small starting before we wind up for today, because tomorrow from 7 a.m. I'll start this class on a serious note. Okay. So OSPF, what you all know about the OSPF, guys? Anyone, anything you want to say before I start off?
It is a link state protocol.
Yep.
They have two versions, 2 and 3, version 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a IGP protocol.
Yep.
It uses cost to select best path.
Yeah.
And
AD value 110.
Yep. So those are few things the OSPF has, and you all know that. That's good. So again, we'll start with the basics first of the OSPF. So OSPF is designed in such a way that everybody knows it's a link state routing protocol. So that's one thing everybody knows. Why this is a link state routing protocol means there is a visibility. Every router has the visibility of all the routers in the area. How everyone has the visibility of all the routers within area will see in the lab. How the LSAs are being shared with each other, how every router has the visibility of all the networks, all the devices, all the hosts in the network in a particular area, we will see in the lab. But just think it like this way, OSPF is designed in such a way, there is no loop. Also, this is a link state routing protocol, because this is a link state routing protocol. OSPF, link state. OSPF is open standard platform protocol, means any vendor can use it. HP, Huawei, Juniper, Cisco, Alcatel-Lucent, which is now acquired by Nokia. These routers, Juniper and Alcatel-Lucent guys also are used in the ISP. Technologies remain gonna same. If I talk about the Juniper, you will see in production like MX series, very popular, 480. Also T series, some big routers. M series routers were also there. Similarly, in Nokia side, there will be 7750 good service provider router. You will see in big organizations like Tata. They are using heavily Alcatel-Lucent 7750. Right? Also, switches would be there. The ISP switches, the big high-end switches would be there. Switching is not there much in the ISP course, but it's there in your service provider, in enterprise course. So we're talking about the OSPF. That's a link state routing protocol. That's an open standard. It sends periodic updates. Periodic updates. How much time? It sends update?
10 seconds. After 10 seconds.
No, that's a hello update. I'm sending over the periodic update. Not
Periodic.
like hello message they are
Sir,
exchanging.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay.
No, sorry, 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. So OSPF don't send routing updates. They send periodic LSs. Periodic LSs, or you can say database updates. And that update, we call that LSA refresh, guys, which is every 30 minutes. What is the maximum time of this LS?
Sir, 3600.
Yeah, that means
1 hour.
50 minutes.
1 hour, 60 minutes, right? Also, along with this periodic update, OSPF sends the triggered update. Means any change, anything happens, any update comes, he sends to its neighbors. Also, auto summary is not possible. We do manual summary on the ABR. Manual summary. Okay. What about the area? What about the area, guys?
Area 0 is backbone and
Area 0 is backbone.
backbone.
Do we really need area 0?
No.
Oh, sir.
For single area, we can use any area number, but if it is number of areas, then we need area 0 for backbone.
So the thing is, area 0 is not mandatory. If you are using single area, it could be any area. It does not matter. You have to keep area 0 in your network. Generally, people keep area 0, maybe just for the extension in the future, they have to extend their network. And then at that point of time, they need area 0. So that's why they keep. But if you ask me, do we really need area 0? The answer is no. But if you are connecting multiple areas, or if you have planned to segregate your network into multiple areas, why do we need to go into the multiple areas? That's a different concept. I will come into it. But in case we need to go to the multiple areas, then area 0 is mandatory. Means you have to keep the area 0. That's why people generally, even though they have the single area, they keep the area ID as area 0. But if someone says it's mandatory, no, it's not mandatory. The administrative distance, it's going to be 110, right? Area ID, that's going to be in 32 bits. You generally write it in decimal format, 1, 2, 10, 50, 100. But in new age routers, you will write in the this pattern, IP address format, like 0001, 0002, 144, something like that, in the hexadecimal format as well. I think some devices are supporting. Right? Single area, as I said, there is a single area concept. Area 0 is not mandatory. Also, there is a concept of multi-area, in which area 0 would be a backbone. So this is what the overall few characteristics about the OSPF as a routing protocol. Now the question is, when I enable OSPF, what happens first, guys? Whenever I enable OSPF on a device, what happens first? Any idea?
Sir, it recognizes system IP, or we can say router ID of the router.
Router ID.
Yes. So the thing is, when I talk about the OSPF, the first thing it does is router ID. It assigns router ID. Router ID means how the router ID would be selected is a different thing. There are some criteria to elect the router ID. But the first thing, whenever you enable OSPF, maybe on the network, maybe on you can say on the device. Whenever you just type in router OSPF on some kind of process ID, a router ID is selected. What would be that router ID? We'll come to it. And in normal routers, because I'm talking about the ISP, obviously you will write router OSPF. We were working in data center, then something called feature was coming, but here there is no concept of feature. Here simply you will enable router process, router OSPF. Okay, what is about this router ID? You know, how stable is it? When I say router ID, what if you know how it changes basically?
If we
No,
use a loopback,
How, yeah, when I say router ID, it is stable. How it is stable? You know, my question is how my router ID remains stable. Because as we all know, router ID, without a router ID, OSPF cannot start and cannot send the hello packets. The first packet it's going to send is hello packet, but without router ID, it cannot send, because in the OSPF main header, I'm not talking about your main, you know, hello packet. उसके ऊपर भी एक main OSPF header लगता है, you know, OSPF main header, router IDs remain there. It's an important part. So how it remains same, how it remains stable? Any idea about that?
Because sir, it uniquely identify OSPF packet in the network. So that's why we can say it is a stable.
moreover, it is a logical IP. We are using loopback as a logical IP, so it never changed till we can say that till the OSPF process is a restart.
Yeah. So the thing is, let me just clear it. Any question in this
Yes.
before I clear this? I think this is pretty straightforward. Right? Any question, guys? You know, before I clear this. Okay. Router ID. As I said, first thing it will assign the router ID, and without router ID, OSPF can't start or can't send the hello packets. So 3 options to configure the router ID. You know, I'll come to the stability part. Manual configurations, highly recommended. Manual configure the router ID. And this is highly recommended, means you will never ever fall into any kind of issues if you manually configure, because I personally configured router ID with, you know, didn't configure router ID manually. It took automatically some kind of loopback, and I did some mistake in the IP address of the loopback on 2 devices, and my routing table was simply messed up. The routes are flapping. So it's highly recommended if you pay attention and configure it manually. Do not make mistake into that. If you are not creating or configuring manually, the second option is highest IP address of the loopback.
Sorry for disturbance, sir. Sir, in which case flapping case is occurred?
The 2 routers I have configured the same loopback. So it was 2 routers were using the same router.
Okay.
Hi, you are watching the recording from one of our live session. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more future updates.
Same router ID. Okay.
Yes.
Understand.
So don't go into those kind of issues. And it took me time to figure out what was the issue. I was checking the configuration. I was seeing everything. One time what router was, you know, particular route was learning from some other direction. One route, the particular route was learning from other direction. And I was completely confused into that.
Oh, no, sir. I same time get a call. So that's why not able to.
So yeah, there are gochas of OSPF. I'm not going into that. What if you will not configure the correct subnet mask on both ends? What is the subnet mask is different? What is the same IP you will configure? What if you make the link point to point? You know, these are the gochas of OSPF. You have to, you know, just learn. You can. These are from the interview point of view, I would say. You can practice. So yes. Let's go further. The second thing is highest IP address of the loopback. The third thing is highest IP of physical interface. Address of physical interface. Now my question was, which option is better?
Loopback.
Loopback?
Loopback.
Okay. Loopback is better?
Yes.
Okay. The first thing is always manual is better because it never changes. Router ID never changes, guys. Do anything, do clear until and unless it is manually configured. If you have configured manually the router ID and then you clear the OSPF process, then only router ID changes. Otherwise, your router ID do not change. That's why under option 2 and 3, what is preferred is loopback, because loopback will always come up. क्या होता है कई बार डिवाइस को अप किया, मतलब मींस रिलोड किया, हो सकता है जो फिजिकल इंटरफेस का जो राउटर आईडी था वो इंटरफेस ही अपना है, right? There are chances, or that interface ASIC has gone into some kind of loop, some kind of errors. So what you prefer under option 2 and 3 is the IP address of the loopback interface. Also, there is another way why we prefer loopback is it is easy to locate based on the loopback, like you will say 1.1.1.1, 2.2.2.2. Also in the organizations, if you go see in the productions, the devices will always be located based on the, or you will make the neighborship also based on the loopback addresses, whether it's BGP, we'll come to the MP-BGP portion. So that would also be on the loopback only, because 99.99% your loopback will be the router ID, even if your devices come up, or you can say any of the physical interface goes down, and most of the time your router ID will always be the loopback address, and whenever it will come up, loopback will always come up, because that's a logical interface, that's not a physical interface. So the order is manual is always good, because that's like a static configuration you have done. Whenever the device will come up, manually will always take takes the precedence. Second thing, loopback. Third thing is physical. Also, guys, it never change until unless you manually define and do the clearing of OSPF process. All right. Now, router ID is assigned. Now, what next? What happens next, guys? Router ID is assigned. What happens next? Any idea? We have written down router OSPF 1. Process ID is assigned. Router ID is assigned. Then we say network. Some kind of network. IP would be there. IP network, I would say, and then the mask. Or I would go to the interface, some interface, let's say, and I will simply write IP router OSPF, IP router 1, IP router OSPF 1 area 0. A couple of commands. Nexus में जाओगे वहाँ थोड़े different है. Normal router में जाओगे वहाँ different है, like IP OSPF 1 area 0. Normal router पे. If you go to Nexus, it would be IP router OSPF 1 area 0. So that's how the commands you're gonna configure. What will happen once you either activate the network under the OSPF or you will configure the OSPF under the interface? What happens then?
Sir, under interface, it is for neighborship.
Mm-hmm.
And if we choosing router OSPF under network, it is globally. So it will.
The thing is, whenever we do this kind of configuration, that's good answer, subject. The thing is, next step is whenever we enable this interface or the network under the OSPF, it will send hello packets. And what is the purpose of hello packet? Obviously, whenever there are two routers and I have activated that network on that particular interface under router OSPF or enabling OSPF on that interface, it will send the hello packet. And what's the purpose of the hello packet? There are two purposes: to discover the neighbor. That's one thing. Second thing, status of the neighbor. Status of the neighbor. So in downstate, obviously there are a couple of states. We will cover down those states like downstate, init state, two-way. You might all have heard of, you all are experienced. Extract, exchange, loading, full. So in downstate, OSPF will send the hello packet. OSPF will say, this is my source IP, whatever it is sending. It always sends that hello packet on multicast address 224.0.0.5.
Right.
224.0.0.5. So in down state, OSPF would send the hello packet and it sends out to 224.0.0.5. After receiving the hello packet, this is R1, this is R2. R2 will send its, after receiving the hello, router 2 would go into from down to init state. As soon as it receives the hello packet from the neighbor, it goes from down to init state. And it said, I have discovered a new neighbor. At this point of time, once R2 goes into the init state, it has discovered a new neighbor, but that is not confirmed. Not confirmed, guys. I have just discovered. So in response, router 2 will send its own router ID. Obviously, R1 has already sent its router ID in that hello. Router 2 will send its own router ID with the info of active neighbor. Obviously, is the active neighbor. If my neighbor, R1 now knows, R1 को इसका hello packet मिला होगा 222 के साथ with its neighbor's ID. Now, if my neighbor, R1 will say, if my neighbor knows my ID, then only we are confirmed neighbors. So once R2 will send the packet to, response back to the R1 in the form of hello packet only, obviously with the ID of R1. Now R1 knows, R2 definitely knows me at this point of time. Because my neighbor knows my ID, we are confirmed neighbors. So we are confirmed. From R1's point of view, we are confirmed neighbors, not from R2's point of view. So in response, in step number 3, R1 again sends the hello. R1 again sends the hello, and now R2 will go, obviously now R2 already knows that, will go into two-way state. And at this point of time, at this stage, they become neighbors. So if someone asks you in which state OSPF routers become neighbors, वो full में नहीं बनते हैं. Never ever say that कि full state में बनते हैं. No, always OSPF neighbors become in two-way state. Right? I can show you that as well in two-way state. So now what happens in the two-way state? This is just a hello packet desert com. And if you ask me what goes into those packets, so whenever the device sends the hello packet, so what goes into that header, let me just show that there will be L2 MAC header would be going on, L3 header will be going on, where the IP addresses would be there. OSPF header will be attached on top of it. On OSPF header, there will be the OSPF message. Hello is one of those messages. How many types of messages are there in OSPF, guys? कितने होते हैं OSPF?
Five.
You all know that. Hello. What else?
DVD,
DBD,
LSR,
LSR, LSU, and TAC. So this is my first packet. Hello packet. Yeah, this is my first packet. So on which transport it works? Like BGP works on TCP port 179. So on which transport OSPF works, guys?
its own transport.
Its
On
own.
transport.
Yeah. And what's the protocol? Protocol number?
89.
89.
Like BGP works on TCP.
179. Yeah.
179.
TCP port 179 means your layer 3 has to be there, or the TCP connectivity on port 179 has to be there. Then only port 89. Then only their neighborship comes up. But it OSPF, the transport is port number 89. Right. Also, OSPF header, OSPF message, also some kind of link level signaling, local link signaling will be there. LLS, we call that. That header remains there. So what goes into the hello message is different. What goes into the OSPF header is different. So any idea about what goes in the OSPF header?
Sir, message type, message length.
MDU size.
MDU
Sequence
don't
number.
go here. No. So what goes into your OSPF header is, guys, your router ID.
Router ID, yes. Router ID. And
That's the
area
main
ID also.
constitute. Other are small. One is area ID. That's in your main OSPF header. I'm not talking about the message. What else? Message, obviously. What kind of message is there out of those 5? This is hello. What else? Authentication. Means, is it plain text? Is it MD5? Is it SHA? What kind of encryption is there? So that information goes in your OSPF header. Also, there are one or two small things. What goes into your hello message? OSPF hello message actually is, any idea? What goes inside the hello message?
Sir, step flag bit and priority.
Priority, okay, yeah, priority goes, yes.
Hello time, dead time,
Yes, hello time, dead time.
and DR and BDR information.
DR, BDR, yes, TRID, BDR ID, yes, for sure. What else?
And network types. No, network type is also
Not network type, active neighbor.
active
Active
neighbors.
neighbor information goes there. What else?
Subnet mask. Sir.
Yes, net mask. Net mask goes there. The last option is option bits. Anyone heard of these option bits? Abhi suna? N bit, P bit, O bit, M bit, E bit. They have their all meanings.
Yes.
कौन सी LSA से कौन सा transfer translate होता है? Whenever the route is converted from type 7 to type 5, then one bit comes into the
P
addition.
bit is partition.
Yeah, so all those bits have their own mechanisms. One is demand bit as well, one is multicast something specific bit as well, some external bit is there, some external routes are coming, border router will be set that bit. Agree? There would be some external routers, then your border router will set that bit. So all those bits come into the picture. We'll see a couple of those bits when we'll go further down the OSPF. Right. So OSPF has gone. We have seen the exchange. They have become the, one router has turned into the two-way state. M2 is not there in this packet, guys. Remember, M2 is still not there here. Now, what happens in this state? Now they are in two-way state. What happens here? Anything here before I clear this? All good? Can I clear it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now what goes into the two-way state?
Sir, DR and BDR election.
DR and BDR election. How DR and BDR selection happens? We know it happens in two-way state. How the DR BDR election happens?
Highest priority.
No.
Yeah.
Before priority.
Highest router ID.
Those are the selection mechanisms. लेकिन
Okay,
उससे
sir.
पहले एक दूसरे को update तो करेंगे वो.
Yes, yes, sir.
So on which multicast address they update each other?
0.5 and 0.6.
Not 5.
Which on 5, which on 6?
Yeah,
We always get
not
confused in this. So the thing is, normal router will send update on 224006 and DRBDR send update on 224005. So the normal router, while sending the update to DRBDR, that's used 224006, but DRBDR sent to all other routers 224005.
And sir, one question. When BDR had to send any update to DR, then on which address they send?
They remain in full state.
Sir, full state.
No, that is the state.
On which address? Like 0.5 or 0.6? When
DR, I believe that should be on the 224005, but I'll check that. I forgot actually. I forgot that.
Okay.
I believe that is 5, but let me recheck. I don't want to give you any false commitments, false answer on this.
Okay.
How they, on which multicast address they sync each other. Because as far as I know, they are on 5, but they sync with each other, whatever the update is. But
DR receive update on 224.5 and give the update on 0.6 to all other routers.
They give the update, DRBDR sends on 5, other routers sent to DRBDR on 6. And you are routing the neighborship, as I told you, the neighborship. Normal routers make their full neighborship with DRBDR only. Also, DRBDR makes their neighborship with each other in full state because they will sync with each other. The all other remaining routers are called as DR other routers, and they remains in two-way state only. Always remember, that's a normal OSPF behavior. You might be knowing that, right? Pata tha nahi? Normal thing. Whenever they will, adjacency will become full, they make the full adjacent. They remain full adjacents with the DR/BDR, all the routers, but with each other they remain in two-way state only. Right? So how you guys think the OSPF sense the reliable flooding? Yeah, when we say OSPF, it's all about the optimization. It's not something you are just configuring everything in a single area. All the requests, all the LSAs are being, happening in an area. All the acknowledgements are going within an area. It's all about the optimization. So OSPF works on something which is called a sequence number. Sequence number. तुमने देखे होंगे LSA में is checksum value. देखे ना database में all these things. So whenever there is a new update, they check, they verify from the sequence numbers. So new update is flooded, old update is discarded. Link state acknowledgements, that's what I'm telling you. So many acknowledgements are being going within an OSPF area, and that's where the optimization should be there. Ultimate goal is CPU memory saving. नहीं तो सर कोई एक ही एरिया को extend कर देता बहुत सारा. All we need to do, not only doing the OSPF up, we need to take care of the resources as well. It's not just enabling the protocol, it's about optimization. Within an area, if you think about the routers, so many routers will be there. Everyone will be sending the update to everyone, in normal scenario. And think about the updates going on, think about the acknowledgements going on. So OSPF, why OSPF is designed like this? Because OSPF depends on reliable flooding. When I say reliable flooding, that means all packets are of TTL1. So it works something which is on sequence number, age, checksum value, whatever the updates. Is there some kind of new updates would be there, some kind of older updates would be there. Whenever the new update will be coming, the old update will be discarded, new update will be taken into the database, and accordingly the tables would be updated. We'll come into it, don't worry about that. The main reason to show me this is link state acknowledgements, because whatever the updates will be going, there will be n-1 acknowledgements flooding in the area. That's why we all want to think about the optimizations here. And that's where the DR/BDR selection is happening, because at the end of the day, if DR/BDR won't be there, think about the LSAs, the link state updates and acknowledgements happening in an area. That's why we are discussing this DR/BDR, because we want to limit those acknowledgements. We want to limit those link state requests. अगर यहाँ पे DR/BDR नहीं होता, हर राउटर को हर दूसरे राउटर को अपडेट भेजनी पड़ती. सोचो कितना लिंक स्टेट अपडेट होगा. अभी क्या होगा, कितना बड़ा एरिया हो, they are only responsible to send to DR/BDR. DR/BDR can send to everyone, and they will be sending acknowledgements just to these two routers. Right? They are not bothered to send to each and everyone. So there would be less dependency on the, less consumption of the resources. So what's the criteria to elect the DR/BDR, guys? Main purpose in the second state we are discussing is DR/BDR. Obviously, we have discussed, why we need DR/BDR, because so many acknowledgements and requests. So we will elect DR/BDR. Those will be elected in two-way state, and all other routers with DR/BDR remain in full state. Within each other, they remain in two-way state. Now, what is the criteria to select the DR/BDR?
To reduce the database table and also LSA flooding. To reduce
Highest priority.
Yeah, simple. Highest priority. What else?
first elect BDR. Then
Yeah, first BDR will be
First
elected. If
elect
it does
BDR.
not see any DR, then it elect himself to be the DR. What is the selection mechanism of DR BDR? First condition, device has to be in the same network. Means device has to be in the same area. ऐसा नहीं हो दूसरे एरिया के साथ और तुमको मेरा DR BDR elect नहीं हुआ. No, device has to be in the same network. Then highest priority. What is the default priority, guys? One.
it's a 6-3. Sorry.
No, that's in ISIS. 60 till 63 they have values in ISIS. Cost values maximum, not here. Until you configure the wide metric there. In narrow metric they have cost like 63 only. By default that cost remains 10. But here it is different. This is talking about the priority. Priority remains by default 1. Second thing, if priority is same or you have not configured any priority, that is your highest router ID. Right? So this is the mechanism to configure the DR BDR in the network. So there is a question I just want to ask from you. I think I have asked the same question in my another class as well. How many DR and BDR would be there in this topology? I just want to ask. What do you think, guys? How many DR BDR would be there in this topology?
1 DR, 1 BDR.
1 DR, 1 BDR. Okay. Any other answer? Anyone? Any other answer? How many DR BDR would be there? As you know, logic is per network. Give me answers like Mahesh is there, Pranjal is there, Prashant is there, Ashish is there. Yeah, just give me answer. It's not like right or wrong.
Sir, it's a 4 DR, 1 BDR.
1 BDR. Okay. Any other answer?
I give the answer 1 DR and BDR.
1 DR, 1 BDR. Okay.
1 DR and 1 BDR.
Okay. 3 people have said 1 DR, 1 BDR. Anyone? Anything like to add? Let's count.
Sir, 5 DR.
5 DR, 1 BDR.
1
5
BDR. Okay. Any other answer?
Sir, 2 BDR.
2 BDR.
5 DR, 2 BDR.
2 BDR. Okay. So many answers we have, right? Okay, let's count. Is there any DR BDR on this link?
Sir, serial link.
That is
DR,
serial
BDR.
link, sir. No DR BDR.
BDR, right?
Yeah,
All agree?
agree.
What about this link?
Sir, one DR and 1 BDR.
1 BDR.
1 DR, 1 BDR. What about this link?
DR only.
Only DR.
Only
Yeah.
DR. Because once it will elect DR, BDR, and this is Ethernet segment, and when there is no other competitor, then he claim itself to DR.
5
Similarly
DR.
here, similarly here, similarly here. So how many in total?
4 DR, 1 BDR.
3 plus 1 plus 1, 5 DR.
5 BDR.
5 DR and 1 BDR.
1
Correct.
BDR.
Sarabjit sir, answer is correct.
Sarabjit sir is yeah. So
Yes, sir.
got the idea, guys.
सर ने बताया वो सब कुछ रट्टा मारा हुआ
I'm just taking you to the references. इसमें ऐसा कुछ नहीं, मैं अभी थोड़ा normal classes ले रहा हूँ, normal BGP जो मैं लगभग हर course में लेता हूँ. So it's not something I'm teaching new here. So a couple of classes, when we'll go into the ISIS, OSPF, and BGP normal things. When we actually jump into the MPLS VPN, तब तक थोड़ा सा similar चलेगा, but nothing different. उसके बाद we'll jump into the different right. All good? Any questions, guys? So some of you which you are thinking कि ये लोग explain कर रहे हैं ना, because these are my old students, so they know. So any questions from these guys? Prashant, Pranjal, Ashish, Mahesh. Nothing? All good? Okay, let's move further, because let's quickly complete the states. And tomorrow we'll see some practical on our iOS devices. iOS devices and most probably iOS XE devices. Don't worry about the XR devices. We'll do in our main lab how to configure OSPF when we'll do the MPLS VPN. Don't worry about that. Okay, so 2 is done. DR, BDR election is done. Everything is done. What next? What is the third state, guys? Not third. Technically, it's fourth. If you start from down. Otherwise, third. So what's next?
So extract.
Extract.
Okay, yeah, extract. What happens in the extract?
Sir, partially updates.
MPT backup.
Yeah. And anything you would like to say? What goes into that partial update?
Sir, MPT negotiation. Sir, MDO negotiation and master and slave election, like which router send LSS first.
DRPD are also elected between second and third state.
Sorry, Ashish, can you please a bit louder?
So between second and third state, DRPD are also elected.
Yeah, that we have elected already.
Master and slave election.
Yeah, third in the extract stage, this master slave election will take place.
Or MTU negotiation.
Yeah, MTU would be there as part of the DBD packet, not part of this selection procedure. The packet which will be sent will be the DBD packet. And in this state, the master slave election would be happening. So there would be 3 bits here, right? In this extract stage, in the DBD packet, if you see, there will be 3 bits. One is MS, which is master slave bits. One is I, means initial offer I am giving you, initial offer. And there would be another bit, M, more bits coming. But what we are more interested here is MS. What is this MS? MS is your master slave, means whenever the 2 routers are making a negotiation or making the adjacency with each other, means this is a router R1 making adjacency with another router which is R2, they will send the DBD packet after the 2-way state, DBD. In DBD, obviously, one has a router ID of, let's say, an example 10.10.10.10, another one has a router ID of, let's say, 5.5.5.5. He says, I am the master, MS1. If it is initiating, let's say an example, and it will say, this is my initial offer. And if some kind of other data is coming, I'm bit is sent, more bits is coming. Let's say some kind of sequence number is going on 99, then my other sequence number is remaining. That initial offer it sends to its neighbor. The neighbor in turn will reply with its own DBD, if it will accept that, right? So if if it accept that, okay, it will say master slave bit is 0. If it's a higher router ID, it say no, I will not accept that. I am the master. This is my initial offer. My I bit would be 1, and if I have any more bits to come, any sequence to come, my M would be 1. It will be sending its own sequence number. So in this case, in the DBD packet, all this exchange would be happening. And in this DBD packet, through DBD packet, your master slave election will happen. Right? Once this master slave election will happen, obviously they need to exchange the database. He will say, I'll exchange the database. He will say, I'll exchange the database. So in which state the database exchange will happen? In extract, obviously they are sending some kind of sequence, means partial information exchange happens. Partial information exchange. But in a start state, as soon as the master slave election happens, they jump into the state which is called as exchange state. Exchange state. That's where their first database exchange. We think, okay, you will send the you are the master, you will send the first DBD, because we have to sync our database. At the end of the router, every router in the area will be synced. So whoever will be the master have the right to sync. He will have the right to send the DBD packet. It will say I will start syncing. It will send the DBD packet. Okay, I'll start the exchange. The first DBD I'm saying, not the full database. The first exchange. So obviously I'll accept that. If there is anything wrong, if my database is updated, that's fine. I'll send the acknowledgement. If there is not any update, router 1 is sending some update because it is the first in the exchange. It's the master. It is sending the first exchange. But router 2 will check that database. It will check its own sequence number of that database packet. It will check, okay, I am missing something. I don't have the full database. Then it will send another packet, which is the link state request packet. It will request this router, give me the database. This one is missing for me. In turn, the router where the database is missing on the R2 will send the link state update packet. Those 5 packets we have discussed of OSPF. So link state request, link state update. Once the first database happened, which was in exchange state, this link LSU LSR will happen in your loading state. Loading. Because he's asking some database which is missing. And I am giving that because I'm the master. I have the latest database. In turn, also, if something is missing on the master, now this will request. If this R1 said, okay, send me your database, then if the master is missing something in that exchange, then he'll ask the slave, okay, give me that. At this loading state of the OSPF, they will sync their database by the help of packets, which is LSU and LSR. Once the database is synced between the routers, they will now go into the full state. Means they are now adjacent to each other, not neighbors, adjacent to each other. So that's the difference between your neighborship and adjacency. This is also very, you can say, good interview questions. Many interviews will.
Hi, you are watching the recording from one of our live session. Hit like, share, and subscribe for more future updates.
The interviewer will ask you, what's the difference between full and adjacency? Or you can say neighborship and adjacency. So always remember 5 messages: hello, DBD, LSU, LSR. Also with a LSU update, acknowledgement will go in back. So LSA, link state acknowledgement. So these 5 packets will remain there. Hello will go into the down to init state, going into down state, making it to the init. Then the states will happen. You can say here the init state, then they will come into the two-way state where DR BDR election will happen. Once that is being happened, then the DBD will come. That's where the MTV will also go into the packet. That's where they went into the extra state. That's where the master slave election will happen, and the partial update will be happening. Means exchange state. Master slave election happen in the extract, and in exchange state they will share the partial update, or you can say the initial update. Sometimes you have read into the books, I will initiate, I am the master, this is the first copy of my database. But the actual database synchronization, whatever the missing piece in those routers will happen in the loading state, which is the packets which will help to achieve that would be your LSU, LSR. Also the acknowledgements will go hand in hand. Once all of the database is synced, that's why जब भी तुम OSPF चलाते हो तो राउटर के एरिया के किसी भी राउटर पे कमांड डालो, उसके आउटपुट सेम आते हैं. If you want to see the LSA1, LSA2, LSA3, 4, 5, उस एरिया के किसी भी राउटर पे कमांड चलाओ, the output will be exactly same. So that's why every router knows everything, all the networks about all the networks present in my area, because their database remain same. Their database remain sync with each other within an area. तो कभी भी ये आउटपुट मारना, हर राउटर पे सेम आउटपुट आएगी within an area, because they are exchanging everything here. Once all the exchanges happened, they went into the full state. That's where They become adjacent to each other. Agree?
तो सर नेबरशिप जो है, सॉरी, तो नेबरशिप सर हमारा टू वे स्टेट में बन जाएगा,
Neighborship two way state में,
एंड अगर एडजेसेंट बोले तो वो फुल स्टेट में,
वो
राइट?
फुल स्टेट में होगा। नेबरशिप तुम्हारा टू वे में बन चुका होगा। टू वे में भी कौन सा बनेगा? Only with DR BDR.
हाँ, यस, DRBDR.
The other routers which are also called as DR other will remain in two way state. In case a BDR goes down, oh sorry, DR goes down, then BDR will become DR.
Right.
And then there will be election for BDR only. Same mechanism, priority and those router ID things. Always remember. And once that same DR comes up, it will not become DR. वो भी फिर election करना होगा उसको अपने आप को. So let's say an example, if DR goes down, so BDR will become DR. Any of the remaining routers, one will become the BDR. But the same DR, let's say if it comes up, then it will not elect himself again DR, or I would say there is no preemption. उसको फिर से इलेक्शन करना होगा जब कोई DR डाउन गया, फिर वो BDR बनेगा, फिर DR बनेगा. ऐसा नहीं है कोई सीधा प्रेसिडेंट बन जाएगा. There is a process. Vice president will become the president. So all those things happens in two-way state. The election, DR BDR election. All good?
Yes, sir.
So in data center subject, we did the lab on the Nexus devices. In this course, we'll do the lab on the iOS, probably XE devices.
Right.
Because I have to somehow start some basics before I jump into the MPLS VPN and show the different flavors of the OSPF, BGP and everything. Obviously, we have to cover the basics first. Little bit. I'm not going much into the basics, but I'll show you one lab of OSPF. And then most probably where it matters most in the service provider, I'll show you in the MPLS when we'll do the MPLS VPNs. So I don't want to spend much time, but let's spend few time on the OSPF, few times on the, some time on the this ISIS, and little more time on the BGP. Then we actually jump into our MPLS VPN course. All right, guys, let me know if you have any questions. I'll stop technically here today.